Balake. Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Ron.
Ron is back with channel favorite Captain Tommy Scoville. How's it going, man?
I'm loving life. Loving life.
Feels like just yesterday we were in a Los Angeles courthouse watching Danny Masterson being sentenced to life in prison. Guys, for those of you not yet familiar with Tommy, you can find Tommy on YouTube at The Lifeboat. Says the story of how a convicted bank robber and addict came out of prison a changed man with a dream. This is how Captain Tommy started The Lifeboat. So check him out over there. Okay, Tommy, I have to pick your brain about prison questions. People keep asking me about Danny Masterson's status, whether he's gone to his final prison home yet. I got a message I wanted you to help me understand the significance of. Somebody messaged me that said Danny Masterson is going to WASCO prison in the middle of nowhere, about a half hour from Bakersfield, California. It's not uncommon to get above 110 degrees in the summer. Can you help us understand what WASCO is and whether it's actually Danny's final home?
It's not going to be his final home. When Danny leaves the county jail and gets transported to WASCO, he's going to be in an intake facility. Their job is to find out everything that they need to know about him so that they can house him. It's sort of a continuation of the pre-sentence report, except now they look at him and they go, hey, the BS is over, right? Forget all of that. You've been convicted, whatever. Now we're going to kind of do this process again. And they're going to ask him about his crimes. They're going to do a psych profile on him, which ought to make him really happy. He's going to spend a long period of time talking to the people at psych. Then they're going to do some stuff for a basic, run up of the entire body, where you would go in and get a full medical workup, blood work, cholesterol, all that, because it is now their responsibility to make sure that this person is healthy for the next, 30 years anyway.
So he's already been in county jail for over 3 months now. He was sentenced over 2 weeks ago. And Wasco's not even his final destination. What takes so long? Is it just the amount of people that are going through this system?
It's what it is that everything is autonomous. Okay. So they took the time to get his medical file started and do all of that at the county jail. And it's going to stay right there. Honestly, so little of that is going to follow him along. Everything kind of runs on its own. So when he gets to WASCO, they're starting from scratch. It's like the first day he walked into county jail. They're going to do the same process, but now this is his prison jacket. This is what's going to follow him for the rest of his life. Everything from the day he walks in, the second he walks in, he's now a number. And it's just, they're going to do everything they can to make sure he lives a very, very long life, right? There's not going to be tobacco. There's not going to be, there'll be booze if he's really lucky, and very rarely, but there's, you live a very healthy life. They tend to live deep into their 80s and 90s. That's, convicts don't get all the bad things that you can be choosing to do every day to shorten your life. You get 3 meals a day. They tell you what you're going to eat, when you're going to eat, but he's going to be going through a very long process of picking his brain. They want to know about his family. It's going to be probably odd that the divorce was just filed. That's going to be a big focus of a lot of, his psych profile, I would assume, going in. One of the first questions they asked me, has your wife already left you? It's pretty common stuff. Absolutely. It's, they tend to leave, and I'm not blaming wives, but it's a rare thing that a wife lasts through an entire sentence. It's also pretty rare that they divorce within, 14 days of sentencing, but that's
right. So for this WASCO thing, do all prisoners in the California system go through WASCO, or are there multiple?
They all go. No, there are multiple. There's a ton of different reception centers. This is the biggest prison population in America, if not one of. California. Texas is big, but there are so many process centers, and this is just, it really is an assembly line. They're going in there. They're stripping these guys out, get naked, get on that line, put those clothes on, grab that bag, go up here. It's just an assembly line of really, it's fairly terrifying the first time you go through it. And this is going to be his intro to prison.
Okay, I got an email from someone else. I shared this with you, I believe. And it says, I chatted today with a buddy of mine who works in the prison system. He said that Danny will most likely end up at Mule Creek in Lone, California. He says this place is where they put cops who get busted, as well as high profile celebrities. He said Danny would not be sent to a level 4 facility, which is where the most violent criminals go, but to a level 2 facility, which is where the non-violent go. It says since he didn't use a firearm, a level 2 is probably where he will end up, and Mule Creek fits the bill. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that there's probably some logic to what he said. Unfortunately, he did use a firearm.
So he did use a firearm. Do you remember when we were sitting in the courtroom and Cohen, one of Masterson's defense attorneys, was making a big stink about the pre-sentencing investigation, and it mentioned that a firearm was used, and Cohen basically objected, and he said, look, the testimony was very clear that no firearm was pointed at a victim, that the Jane Doe even said she didn't feel threatened with a firearm. And the judge said, that's fine. We will amend the language. This is irrelevant to the sentencing. And do you remember her saying that? Because I remember thinking, oh, wait a second. He's not even going to get an extra 10 years or anything. She said it was completely irrelevant to the sentencing. What did you make of that?
Well, because of the 2003 law, and yeah, what the point that they were arguing over was whether or not the gun was pointed at her. The gun was absolutely used as a threat. He pulled it out and said, I can kill you. Now, whether you pointed at me or whether you pointed at the ground, if you tell me you're going to kill me with a gun, that's a threat.
Or I think if I recall correctly, he said, don't say a word. You're not going to say a word like shut up or something like that. But I just, for the record, I don't think he said, I'm going to kill you.
Right. But as the brandishing of the firearm, the argument was over whether or not it was pointed, not whether or not it was there. And you're right. Because it was 2003, her thing was, look, however you want to amend it, because it doesn't make any bit of difference anyway. However, I don't believe that that's the case. And correct me if there's somebody that's familiar with this Cali system. Correct me if I'm wrong, but once you get inside, right, once you start talking about yard points, once you start talking about classifications, was there a gun involved in the crime? They're not going to say, well, there was a gun, but since it was 2003, the gun isn't applicable. You know, they're going to read the PSI and they're going to say there was a gun involved in this, and I think that that's going to bump the custody level. I could be wrong. I'll tell you what, if he ends up on a yard with a bunch of ex-cops, I'm not sure that would put him in any better standing, if you really want to know the truth. You know, I've seen.
Yeah. And my question about this email was also, it seems like there's also two separate issues, whether the firearm was involved and whether violence was involved. Violence was involved. He was convicted of violent rape.
It's a crime of violence. Yeah.
So that's right.
I don't believe that there is a non-violent version of that crime, right? That's a violent crime by its nature. There's no such thing as non-violent assault of that kind.
So in
it's
your
definitely
experience,
a violent crime.
For sure. There's no question about that. In your experience, how long might it take for Danny to actually end up in his final home for the next at least 30 years?
If he's on the fastest train smoking and everything goes quick and he happens to catch, you know, every meeting at the right time. And what I mean by that is they may run, you know, the meeting where they tell you not to accept candy bars from your cellmates. And I'm not even being funny. Like they show you a video that says, if you come home and there's a chocolate bar on your pillow, don't eat it, because later they're going to ask for that chocolate bar back, right? They show videos like that. But if they only show them during certain times, it's like when you're in there, if you catch everything, you could be gone in 14 days. If everything doesn't go well, if there's a couple of fights, if there's a few lockdowns, and all those things tend to happen, about 90 days. Within 90, he should be getting shipped off to his new home.
What does that mean to ask for the candy bar back?
So they did this thing when I first went to prison. It didn't exist, and then it changed while I was in there. And it's called the Prison Rape Elimination Act, and and it is a good concept, right? Nobody deserves that, even the Danny Mastersons of the world. But they shot all these videos and they made all of these promotional things, and they're the most ridiculous things you've ever seen. And the last time we went in, they actually showed this, and there's a convict who they're filming, an actual convict, and you see him put a candy bar on it, guys. And they're saying, don't accept anything from anybody, because when they ask for it back and you don't have it, it puts you into a bad situation. this kind of thing. But it becomes, because they show this to everybody, it becomes a running, standing joke. You know what I mean? Like every lunch day, every store day you come back and there's usually at least a candy bar or two on your pillow from a friend, because it just becomes, it loses a lot of its punch when they show it to convicts who find it funny.
Okay.
Hopefully he's not eating any candy bars.
So asking for the candy bar back is basically you accepted my candy bar. Now you owe me something.
Correct. You owe me 2 candy bars. And you go, well, I didn't go to store. That's got nothing to do with me. Where are my 2 candy bars? Maybe we could work out a different deal. Like it's that kind of a thing.
Oh my goodness.
Yes,
okay. I wanted to ask your opinion on these photos. I don't know why I'm so shocked that someone managed to get photos of Carol and Danny. That's Carol and Jordan. That's Danny's mom and his half brother actually visiting Danny in jail, which I don't know why I thought he wasn't going to be able to get visitors at county jail. I don't remember why I thought that, but
somebody told us somewhere along the line that it was like falling apart or radioactive or something like that. We were told
that it was condemned, that it had been condemned. It was supposed to be closed. And I got to say, I find it slightly awkward that we have photos of Jordan. Now let's look at what he's wearing. Okay. We have photos of Jordan visiting, and we also have photos of Jordan getting wait for it. Wait. There it is.
Yeah,
wow. That hand's a little too familiar, if you ask me.
It seems, I'm not normally the type to pass judgment, but it is a beautiful wristwatch. Guys wearing a lovely watch. He really is. It's a damn nice wristwatch.
You can tell what kind of watch that. You can tell what kind of watch that is?
Yeah, I have a bit of a watch problem. But
what kind of watch do you think it is?
It's a Submariner. It's a 2-tone sub. But here's the thing with this. That could just be, sort of an affectionately brother-in-lawly. If my brother-in-law kissed my wife like that, I would knock his teeth out. But
that's probably a kiss. That's probably a kiss on the cheek, to be fair. But that hand should be on the shoulder or the arm. That hand's right there on the back of the neck.
Yeah, I hate to pass judgment, but
we're just having fun. We're just having
fun. You know what else though? Here's the thing. This is something that Joe, have to think about, right? The average person sits in there, and let me explain to you what prison is for the average convict. He sits in there, and unless he has his day routined out, he spends about 6 hours a day wondering what his wife is doing, wondering who is saying hello to her, wondering if anyone's being particularly friendly or whatever. This isn't that cat. This guy's going to see pictures like this in magazines. He's going to see, and he's not going to be around the friendliest people in the world. If somebody comes across a picture in Us or in one of those magazines, it's flying under his cell door. It's getting painted all over the walls. He's really going into a place that this is going to be very, very difficult on him. I think
so. People keep asking me in the live chat. I see people asking, who is that? That is Danny's brother, Jordan.
Yes.
That is Danny's brother, Jordan, half brother. Now, so guys, this also came from the Daily Mail. And by the way, this photo shoot here that we're seeing here, I have it on good authority that Bijou's own people are the ones who alerted the photographers, called the paparazzi, to come and take photos of her, which is why you see the daughter in the photo. I've never seen the media ever post. See, this is Bijou, and this is Danny's brother, Jordan. And I've never seen the photo post any. I'm sorry, I've never seen the media post any photos of Bijou and Danny's kid. And I was shocked to see photos of her in this article. And I'm told that is because Bijou asked for these photos to be taken to make for sympathetic reasons. And so the photographers, let's say, overstayed their welcome and took some extra shots that they weren't necessarily supposed to take, but they said, once you call us and ask us to photograph you, all the rules go out the window.
It's really the creepiest of the pictures is actually the pre-kiss. There's one right before that they're actually kissing where you would really have to do that split-second pull-up where it really looked like it was just a little bit. Yeah, that doesn't look like the brother-in-law and sister-in-law setup. I'm not one to pass judgment. I'm just saying that looks more friendly than I would want my wife kissing my brother.
Yeah. I mean, look, he's in prison for a long time. I'm not judging.
No, 32 years.
Okay, so it's not a surprise to you that these two are actually able to visit him. That seems normal to you.
Yes, I would be shocked if they're touching him. If that's happening, it's probably because it's my experience, and I could be, I've not been to LA County, but in county jails that I've been to, I have never once been able to have a contact visit. That happens when you get to prison because they need to make allowances for families, but they'll be through glass. He'll be talking on a phone. They'll be talking on a phone on the other side, and there'll be glass between them. It's better than nothing, but it's certainly not visiting.
Yeah, and I'm told that this visitation that we're seeing here was on the same day that the divorce was announced, which honestly, that was just yesterday. So when was this article? Am I lying here? Oh yeah, this was published yesterday. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me see.
So do you believe that the divorce is purely a business transaction?
At this point, I do. Meaning the timing, the speed of it, I believe is purely a business transaction. Obviously, there's no reason for Bijou to continue to stay married to Danny, even for just normal world reasons. But the timing of it, I do genuinely believe is purely a business decision. Jane Doe 1 and 2, and I believe even other Jane Does, but I'm operating with information that was given to me, and I'm not sure if that information is necessarily complete. On the one hand, I believe that Jane Doe 1 and 2, because he was found guilty for the charges relating to them, have 12 months to file a civil suit relating to these same attacks. On the other hand, I don't know for sure that the other Jane Does couldn't also file suit if they chose to. Like, I don't know for a fact that they couldn't. Okay. And there's already a lawsuit filed by a number of the Jane Does for the stalking and the harassment and the intimidation. And that lawsuit's not just against Danny, but it's also against Scientology. Danny's property is already going to be potentially encumbered due to that lawsuit. But let's say that lawsuit fails for whatever reason. There's still other potential lawsuits coming down. And my understanding, and I need to speak to some experts who can speak about it with authority, is that if they get this divorce done, finalized, filed, and whatever, and give as much property and of the assets to Bijou as possible, that those now cannot be touched. New lawsuits could not go after that property. That is my understanding. I could be wrong. Yeah. So if that's true, then filing the divorce as soon as possible and getting it done as soon as possible makes perfect sense. Danny has no need for assets or property in his new home. So giving as much of it to Bijou as possible makes legal sense. Does that all sound right to you?
Yeah, it does. No question. But it also, again, I can't begin to tell you the fragility of the mind of the convict. And I'm talking about if you're in there and you're rock solid. Like, I was married to an attorney, and I had done time. This was nothing that was new to me. It was a concept that I understood. And when the time came that, you know what, we were really going to be able to protect some assets if we were no longer married. You know what I mean? Like that was I knew. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was to protect assets. And I knew the second that I signed that paper that was the beginning of the end. And it starts to just unravel in your head. This man is living in hell. He's living in hell, and it's about to get worse. This intake center for him is going to be like being in the zoo. I mean, this is really going to be so much different than county jail. These guys are going to be screaming around the clock. It's going to be intake centers are notoriously awful. You're not going to be getting, if this is a cat that doesn't sleep very well, he's not sleeping for the time that he's there, because it will be around the clock, people screaming and shooting, kites back and forth and cursing, and oh boy. And once they see that he's there, I honestly mean this. And the more I think about the guy, I was having a conversation with someone the other day. I really do pity him. Everything he did aside, he's a scumbag, and he gets what he's got coming. But man, oh man, this guy's in for a bad run. He really is. He's in for a really bad run.
It's true. Something just occurred to me.
Anybody.
Something just occurred to me. And it has to do with that question that people are going to be asking of, is the divorce real? Is it just to protect assets? I think it's noteworthy that Bijou was not there with Carol and Jordan visiting Danny in prison. You'd think, depending on the circumstances, that she would want to go just, I don't know, to make his mental state a little better. Like, I don't know.
How about the fact that you have no idea that he's not gone tomorrow? See, that one of the important parts, when you get to this phase of the process, when you get shipped off to the next spot, it's going to be a minute before you're getting any visits down there, right? So this was always a big thing for convicts, that, boy, you want to see your girl as much as you can before you get shipped off, because you don't know, how long. Once you get to the yard you're going to, you have to file new paperwork to get approval and all of those things. So normally, if you're in the county jail and they can come every day and come and see you, yeah, that would be distressing. If it were me, I'd be pretty bummed out.
That is a really good point, because I just looked it up. Wasco prison, even if he's only there for a short amount of time, is 2.5 hours away from Los Angeles.
Right.
No one's driving 2.5 hours just to say hi to Danny.
It could take 30 days. It could take 30 days to get the paperwork approved to visit on the yard. I mean, this should be the last chance they get to spend as much time with him as possible before he leaves. It is telling, I think, that right. She wasn't there.
And as far as the asset protection scheme, I'm going to read one text.
That just sounded so cynical the way you said that.
I was reminded that when the rape was first brought up by Jane Doe 1 to reopen, not back in 2004, but when the case was reopened to bring the Jane Does together under one investigation, Danny actually quitclaimed his house to his assistant, Bree Schaefer, or his former assistant, Bree Schaefer, who was a friend of Danny's. So, and come on, you're just going to gift your house to your friend? And also he bought a script from her that she never made. So he immediately started paying off people and hiding assets. Yes. I can't think of any reason in the world, aside from asset protection or anything, for Bijou to remain married to a guy who's going to be in prison for 30 years. I mean, I certainly can't fault her, totally aside from any desire to protect assets, for divorcing. I was just surprised that happened so quickly. Now the surprise was unwarranted because the financial stuff makes it make sense. But just in your experience, is there any reason for her to stay married to him during this whole thing?
Absolutely.
There is?
Yeah, absolutely there is. If the two of them are truthfully, no lie, honestly, till death do us part, bitter end kind of stuff, that Tammy Wynette, stand by your man thing. I was doing time in Phoenix, Arizona, and there was a guy worked in the kitchen room. He's just an older guy, very low key, didn't say much, but did 11 years and was getting out like within 2 weeks after Christmas. So we were in the Christmas holiday, and the stupid trees and stuff are painted on walls. But this guy went in and tied the door shut, right, to the bars, so that they literally had to blowtorch this thing off to get it off. He was a pro, and proceeded to unalive himself from the bars. And the reason was he got a letter from his wife that stuck with him that entire time that said, I just got to be honest with you. I haven't been faithful, and there's not a home to come home to. And this is a cat that did all of that time. There are a lot of men who, when they're in prison, live their life on the outside of that fence. And I've done time with someone on the outside that stuck with me the entire time. And I've done time with nobody on the outside. And it is a very different thing. That label means an awful lot to a guy in there. It may seem really insignificant, but to say, my wife, when he says that and someone will go, didn't you guys divorce? It's going to be like, yeah, every time. It's going to be that night. Well, we just did that for paperwork. Yeah, sure you did.
Wow.
I'm telling you, it's going to scar. It really is a big deal to a man. And I know it's probably sounds patriarchal and all of that other jazz, but the truth is, when you're in there and there's a woman standing by you, willing to say, I'm keeping this cat's name, I'm keeping everything about this guy, I'm standing with him, I don't care what you say about him, he's my guy, I'm staying with him. It's a big deal. It really is.
Wow. So it just dawned on me when people say, is this divorce for real? Is it for real? The significance of that didn't actually occur to me. So if it was not for real, she'd still be visiting him every day. They would still be carrying on as husband and wife, even though on paper they're just divorcing. That's what people mean.
And there's also all of the things that go along with that. In other words, next of kin kind of thing, right? This is your wife. I remember I remember getting badly injured in county jail. Actually, I had a stroke, and I was brought to a hospital. They can't tell anybody anything because they don't want, Vin Diesel breaking me out like you see in every movie, right? But my wife could call down there and say, what happened, and they wouldn't tell her where I was, but they had to give her information. She's my wife. Bijou calls down now. She's Bijou. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't care that you divorced him for this, or this. All of that, all of those things. Your wife is allowed to visit during holiday periods or this period or that period. All of that's gone now. It's all off the table. So even if it's not real, it's real as hell in the prison system.
Wow. If some crazy fan was like, "Oh, Danny, I'll be your wife. I want to marry you," are they allowed to do that?
Absolutely.
Oh, but still no conjugal visits, right?
No conjugal visits, but he absolutely could marry anyone, and it happens often.
Wow.
And very romantic too. I've actually I married my attorney in a visiting room. It was lovely.
We got to talk about that one day.
Yeah, there's actually some really good stories associated with that. So I'd love to talk to you about that.
Oh my God! All right, let's tackle some of these super chats. What is Pat Shore talking about here? Tommy, did you call your doctor, and when is your appointment? Love you guys.
Yes, I actually drove all the way down. My appointment's Friday, but thank you. My doctor was not there. It's a true story.
What did you do a video about this on your channel or something?
I have a few health issues that have been plaguing me, but I'm getting it taken care of. I promise you. I was supposed to go today. I drove all the way down there, and they said the doctor was not there, so I had to reschedule for Friday. But it worked out because I had a couple of videos I had to do. There's Russ.
Here's Russ. You have to remember this. WASCO prison is surrounded by other low-level prisons and higher-level ones also. So because of his status, he will be singled out by the CDC and moved accordingly. Okay. So, but what does that mean exactly? What is Russ saying here?
Let me read this exactly. Prison is surrounded by other lower level prisons and higher level ones. Also, because of his status, he will be singled out. Well, this entire process, this WASCO thing that he's going through, is to determine where they're going to drop him. I think what Russ is saying is he's not moving far. He's going to be in the middle of the desert because there are plenty of lows and highs that are right there. Because no matter where they put him, right, they're going to have to go. They're going to have to go low. They're going to have to go high, and there's usually a vested interest in putting people who are famous a little bit further out. I mean, what did you say? It was 200 miles away from LA.
2.5 hours.
Yeah, 2.5 hours. I don't see them trying to accommodate him to be near. Of course, there's no wife to be near anyway. This is one of the things that they're going to do at WASCO too, is to say, tell me about your family situation. Are you married? And he has to start saying immediately, as of right now, no, I'm divorced, and that's going to change a lot. It really does. It changes how important it is to get you near family. There's so much that goes into it. It's a big deal for the inmate.
Wow. Do they care more about the wife than they do about his other family? If he's like, well, my wife's divorcing me, but I've got a mother and siblings I'm close to, do they care?
No, they don't. And I watched this go on with people who were trying to get things with grandparents and kids and really struggled with that. In the Fed system, no, you're the only one. The only juice card you're going to get is the wife. That's the one that carries the ultimate weight.
Wow.
But he's no longer betrothed.
Wow. If you're one of the 5,000 people watching live, do us a favor real quick and hit that like button if you don't mind. It actually is a big help. So thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Dude's a rock star.
Sandy B, it's going to be interesting to see the effect prison will have on his belief and relationship with Scientology. I agree with Sandy. I think it's going to be very interesting.
I do too. It's going to be fascinating. He's not, from what you had told me, he was not big on doing auditing anyway, but he's not going to have much access to anything. Is he now? One of the things that I heard somebody speculate yesterday is that now that he's going away and he's in there, that they're going to SP him, that he's done. Could that have anything to do with the divorce?
No, I don't believe so. I also saw it reported somewhere that he would have to get, Bijou would have had to ask for and receive permission to divorce Danny. And I don't agree with that. That's not true. Scientologists don't have to ask for permission to get married or divorced unless you're in the C organization, which is a totally different thing.
I had also heard that as well.
Now, if Danny was being declared, that would be a reason for Bijou to divorce him, but the financial stuff makes a lot more sense. It also makes more sense just that she's sitting here, with some space, some time to reflect and go, you've destroyed both of our lives. I don't know you shit.
I'm a victim too.
exactly. So, okay, Rue says, are there mules on the yard instead of cops? Hopefully not for the sake of the mules. Does this mean something special?
It does not mean anything to me. I mean, mules were always people that just carried dope, but I'm not sure what that would be in the,
Okay.
unless she means donkey. Could it be a donkey punch reference? Was that a
Maybe. Sorry, Rue.
yeah, I have no idea what that. I have no idea where that is. But hopefully
All right.
not for the sake of the mules making stories.
David Ricci says spouses cannot be compelled to testify. Yeah. But they can testify if they want to anyway. I don't think that this has anything to do with the divorce, but point taken. Jade Tremblay, Aaron, thanks for all you do. I think if the opportunity arises or can be created, an interview with Matt Walsh is certainly warranted. You're the best person to concisely articulate the truth. If Matt Walsh did want to talk about this for any reason, I certainly would be willing to. I made an error in my video yesterday responding to something Matt Walsh said about inconsistency of statements, and I thought he was talking about Jane Doe 3, but I believe he was in fact talking about something in relation to Jane Doe 1. So I apologize for having gotten that wrong to everybody who noticed that. Cody Mack, I'm predicting now Danny will be declared within 12 months. I'll donate $50 to the Aftermath Foundation when he is. Also, is Danny now called an incarcerated? Well, I think you made up a new word there.
I don't know. I like it.
I'm of two different minds on whether Danny will ever be declared. If they declare Danny, I think they run the risk of losing the Masterson family. They also take away from Danny anything he still has left to hold on to, which is a relationship with his family. The last thing Scientology needs is Danny Masterson writing a tell-all book on how Scientology turned him into a rapist. And I don't believe that we can blame Scientology for turning Danny into that, but that wouldn't mean Danny couldn't write a book about that.
But they sure as hell helped it continue.
They sure helped it continue. Absolutely. So now at the same time, Miscavige has created this thing called a secret declare, which is something that doesn't exist in Scientology, but David Miscavige has created it, where we're going to declare you, but we're not going to tell anyone.
And triple top secret probation.
I know. So who knows what they're going to do, but that's all I have to say about it. Martine, don't forget he saved her life. Well, Martine, I will correct the record here. It's not Danny who donated a kidney to Bijou. It's Chris Wadhams who donated a kidney to Bijou. So I noticed a lot of the letters that were written, in support of Danny's during the sentencing period gave him credit for saving Bijou's life, but it wasn't his kidney. So I don't know what else to say about that. Art Lover, do you think Danny has admitted his guilt to himself yet? I don't think so.
Absolutely. I don't think that he has. I don't think that he feels any remorse or any guilt. I think he's a full-blown sociopath. But as far as whether or not he knows that he did it, absolutely. I've done time with so many sociopaths. They don't deny. It's so hard to understand one when you meet one because they're so foreign to what a human being normally is. They absolutely take ownership of the things that they've done, and they seem to revel in it. But they don't. There's no normal human emotion attached to it. They don't feel guilt. They don't feel sorry for the person. They're really just a different breed, sadly.
Amazing. Calico26 says, too bad he can't be cellmates with Andrew Luster. Do you know who that is? I don't know who that is.
I don't. That doesn't ring a bell.
Right. I guess we'll have to Google it. Okay, let's see. Oh, aloha fam. When all this Danny Masterson hoopla dies down, can you please do a deep dive on Catriona White? When she unalived herself, she was in the middle of the purification rundown, off of anti-psych medication, and married to Delphi Scientologist. Well, she was actually in a relation. I thought she was in a relationship with Jim Carrey. Oh, but maybe she had already left that relationship with Jim Carrey. I mean, that's one of the reasons Catriona White's death got so much press, is because she had been in a relationship with Jim Carrey. So I'll tell you what, I can only do a video about Catriona White if people who knew Catriona want to come on and discuss it with me. I don't know enough about her to do a video on it by myself. and I would run way too much of a risk of getting a lot wrong. And I don't know what's newsworthy about it. Not newsworthy, but what about it would justify a video? So anyway, it's possible, but only if other people who are actually familiar with the situation want to discuss it with me. Thank you very much. Stana rhymes with Donna. Stana rhymes with Donna. Didn't you say Bijou? Didn't you say Bijou cried with head in someone's lap? No, I never said that. After a Jane Doe did a victim impact statement, maybe the truth has sunk in. Didn't you report that she was crying?
She sobbed uncontrollably for probably about 50 or 60 seconds that I remember, but it was not during one of the impact statements. It was when he first entered the room. And then there was another little flare up right toward the end. There's actually a picture drawn of it by one of the sketch artists of him blowing a kiss to Bijou as he was being let out. At that point, she leaned into Danny's mother a little bit for to be consoled. But no, I didn't. During the impact statements, I think all you felt was contempt. I don't think that they were listening. I think that they were just hating. It was really an uncomfortable feeling. I think you could feel it in the room. Yeah. At least I did. It was ugly.
Joni Cummings says, just wanted to thank you both. Aaron, Tommy, you're doing a public service, and give some of this to Goldie. She is a doll. Joni, Goldie also created a Buy Me a Coffee page, which if it's not linked in the description down below, I will link it in the description down below. So you can also help Goldie out that way. Let's see.
I love it.
Cassandra says, Tommy, is Wasco prison worse than going to federal?
Wasco prison is going to be just like every intake in every prison in America. Because of what they have to do there, this isn't going to be any different than whether he was in the feds or anywhere else. It's just an assembly line of taking a lot of guys and getting them put into different categories so they can figure out exactly where they need to be shipped off to. And in the process, build a huge file of medical, of psych, of family, of history, of crimes, of everything. And all of that is being, put in there in a 2 to 3 week period. And then he is off to the next facility. And when he gets there, there's nothing to do but live. Everything has been taken care of at Wasco. So it's not going to be worse or better than either. It's the real question is going to be where he goes next.
Right. Cody Mack says, also wanted to say thanks for all you do. Aaron and Tommy, you as well. I'm 3 years clean from heroin, and people like you helped me survive.
I love it. Good for you, my brother. 3 years is awesome. That's huge. Way better than the average. You're already home.
That's awesome. Well, guys, quick reminder, if you're not yet subscribed to Tommy, you can find him over at The Lifeboat on YouTube, at The Lifeboat. He does awesome stuff over there. Anything else before we wrap it up?
Nope. Appreciate you, my man. It's always fun.
Cool, man. Thanks for hanging out with us, everyone. And thank you, as always, to everyone who watches until the very, very end. And we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here. Bye.